My name is Richard Talbot-Jones. I served in the Army Reserve and then the regular Army, and I'm now the director of my own insurance brokerage, Talbot-Jones Risk Solutions. I spent about 4.5 years in the Army Reserve when I was at university. Like a lot of my peers, I went to Sandhurst afterwards to do the regular commissioning course. Despite being fairly fit and healthy when I started, in week 8 I developed compartment syndrome in both my legs. So at the end of the first term I was medically discharged with a pension, and then I was sort of in the wilderness for a couple of years whilst I tried to work out what I was going to do. I spent a bit of time doing sort of seasonal work as a canoe instructor, as an archaeologist, kind of other things that I'd always wanted to do, just like I'd always wanted to be in the Army. And then I got to a point where I kind of needed to be living in one place long enough to have operations on my legs. And I thought a desk job would be nice instead of an active job. Applied for various kind of call centre roles in Cardiff, and I was quite lucky that Zurich offered me a job in one of their call centres, and it was insurance. And I had no idea what insurance was or what my job was going to be when I started, but I found that I really enjoyed it. My job was talking to brokers rather than sort of general public, and I kind of thought to myself, you know, these brokers are earning a lot more than me. They're not all that clever than me, some of them, so I thought that's what I wanted to do next. At the time my girlfriend was living up in Newcastle, so I just applied to brokerages up there, and to be honest, there were no jobs advertised. I just sent in a letter and a CV hoping for the best, and got a phone call saying come up for a chat. I think the biggest challenge really was a kind of cultural challenge, in the sense that, you know, you join the Army, it's an active lifestyle, it's not a 9-to-5 job, it's quite physical, it's quite aggressive. It's very much it's a large organisation. You have to work as part of a team. You're working with different nations, different arms, different regiments, all, you know, trying to achieve the same goal. And then you come out and you go into insurance, and it's not really kind of the same. You've got there's a lot more negotiation. There's a lot more sort of subtle hierarchies. And I think one of the biggest things was is being quite an aggressive person, you know, and having that kind of developed in the forces. You then go into this kind of quite a much more measured environment where you have different cultural norms, and you've got to find a way to kind of channel all that aggression in the right direction. The best piece of advice is just to go and talk to some people already in the industry. You know, I think if someone had told me when I left the Army that I'd end up working in insurance, I wouldn't have believed a word they were saying. But the thing is, they're not really that dissimilar. Insurance is not probably what you think it is. There are so many different roles. You know, just as you join the Army because you don't want the 9-to-5, insurance can be just like that. I mean, if you're a loss adjuster, you know, you'll be going out all sorts of places, all sorts of times, you know, whenever it's needed. I mean, even as a broker, if a client has an emergency, you know, you've got to pick up the phone and you've got to, you know, get alongside them, work with them. Yeah, and I think, you know, the Army and probably the Navy and the Air Force as well, you know, they're always saying, you know, you've got all these transferable skills, and no one really, I don't know whether anyone really truly believes that, but you probably find they crop up in lots of unexpected ways. And the one thing that the one piece of advice on that front I would give to service leavers is that they will have had more experience of leading and managing people or managing resources than most people, I would think, in the commercial world who have got a similar sort of number of years experience. And so, I mean, organisations I've worked in, I've often been the only person with any formal management qualifications and experience, and that really does help. And I think in terms of advice, you know, make the most of that, capitalise on that. You know, it'll set you apart from your peers. I think there are some skills that kind of developed in the army that are particularly important for being self-employed. You know, that ability to set objectives and also focus on them and not be distracted by other things is quite important. So, you know, I've had referrals from clients saying, oh, you should speak to my mate who's got this big manufacturing plant, and you think, well, I'm not interested in manufacturing business. So I could have spent weeks working on that presentation and fighting with other brokers for it, but I didn't. I decided I was going to focus on what I was actually wanting to do. One of the main skills for my role as a broker is communication. So most of my time in the Army Reserve was spent in intelligence roles, and what you're doing there is you're gathering information, you're collating it and presenting it to people, you're briefing people on the mission, on the background, the context. They then go out into the field, they collect more information, they come back, you debrief them. So you've got to be able to take information and communicate it to one set of people, and then you've got to take the information they give you and then almost translate that into something that you can present higher up the chain of command. And just like in insurance broking, you know, the whole point of a broker is to bring two parties to contract. But insurers and clients don't speak the same language. You have to gather data from one to present it to the other in a language they understand, and you take the terms offered by the insurer and offer them to the client, but in a way that they can understand. And I think that is, having that skill is vitally important. You know, it's no point doing a deal if no one really understands the deal they've entered into. I mean, the first year's kind of, I think everyone says the first year of trading is difficult. Things happen that you didn't expect, or, you know, things crop up that you wouldn't have expected, and other things go far better than you would have thought. One of the great things for us is one of the reasons we did it was kind of as a lifestyle choice. So because I've got compartment syndrome, I'm quite limited in how far I can drive, how often I can drive, sort of try to do things online or via the phone instead, but still trying to maintain a strong relationship. I have physio and hospital visits, and so being self-employed means that I don't have to worry about making time up and booking time off and you know, having return to work interviews and things like that. I can just kind of, you know, if I've got a bad day, I can start late, I can finish late, I can finish early, I can work from home, I can work from hospital or physio's office, whatever I need to do, you know. But yeah, so it's really good. I'm enjoying it.